While, of course, we know that wood fired Carolina pork barbecue cooked low and slow is the very best barbecue, we can also admit that the Carolinas do not have a monopoly on really great barbecue. And this year, the Carolina BBQ Festival once again is spotlighting the pitmasters from the neighboring states like Tennessee or Georgia and Virginia. That's where you'll find today's guest, Ken Hess from County Smoak in Lynchburg, Virginia. Ken, welcome to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show.
Thank you for having me back, Chigger. I appreciate it. We're glad to be coming back for our third Carolina BBQ Festival. I do want to point out that barbecue started in Virginia, and I know that makes everyone in North Carolina mad. But,
Oh,
Joseph Haynes proved that with a lot of research, and we're proud to represent Virginia again and trying to make people proud of Virginia barbecue again.
well, you got plenty to be proud of, and we can debate that Carolina versus Virginia. And I know John Shelton Reed would probably have a debate for you there, one of our friends, the Holy Smokes writer. But go ahead and fire that shot across the bow right out of the gate. Really love that, Ken. And of course, hey, everybody, I'm your host, Chigger Willard. And before we really kind of dive into the debate and County Smoak and Ken's restaurant adventures, a quick reminder for our listeners, you can get all the stories from our Carolina barbecue Festival Pitmasters at our website, lowslowbbqshow.com. While you're there, subscribe to the newsletter. You can visit the blog and click through all the episodes for our conversations with pitmasters like Ken. Ken, you can meet him and the pitmasters April 4th and 5th at the Carolina Barbecue Festival in Charlotte at the Victoria Yards. And Ken, I'm going to get started with County Smoak. If folks haven't met you or heard about you before, let's introduce County Smoak. What is it? Tell us all about the business.
So we're County Smoak Barbecue. We're here in Lynchburg, Virginia. We're a small building-wise spot. We've done a lot of different things. We use all wood and charcoal. So we do have an old hickory CTO. We have a Jed Master rotisserie, and we also have a J&R. Actually, I have a J&R shirt on today.
Nice.
J&R smoker, which I know a lot of places. Well, we have the 1300. I know a lot of places down in Texas use them all the time, and we were looking for, unlike being in Texas, we don't have as many pitmasters bouncing around from restaurant to restaurant looking to, learn more of their trade and the craft. So we had to find equipment that was a little bit easier to use and train people on. And, Aaron Franklin uses the JNRs at his Asian fusion restaurants. So it's definitely a big plus for us. We can fit on 144 pork butts in one shot,
Yeah.
which is pretty wild for a little spot. We only have 10 seats inside, lots of picnic tables outside. And, we're just doing, I don't necessarily want to say craft barbecue because I think that terminology is used all the time. But, with my wife and I both being classically trained chefs who went to the CIA, um, we drove around the country and ate at a ton of our friends' barbecue places and other places that were famous and old school. And one thing we found is that it was very hard to find the complete package of a place might have amazing meats, but their sides might be lacking, or their sides were really good and the meats were lacking, or the meats and sides were good, but then the customer service and the experience was awful. So we try to provide what we believe is barbecue done the right way, and a truly looking at our technical skills of cooking and making things more interesting. For example, our number one slaw is our bacon and blue cheese coleslaw, which sounds really weird. And up here, you get a lot of people who are like, "You don't not know regular slaw," and you're like, "We have a mustard slaw, and we only have the mustard slaw because blue cheese is really a dividing uh, uh, ingredient, I guess you could say. People either love it or hate it, and so that's just something that's different about us. We all of our stuff is craft driven in terms of those things about going back to our culinary skills and looking at that, but also we work very hard on being consistent, which I think is probably the hardest thing to do in barbecue. Barbecue is the best, right, when it comes off the smoker or the grill, and how do you hold it? How do you
Yeah.
treat it so that it's going to be great for every customer, whether it's at 11 a.m. or 6:45 right before we shut down? So that's a tricky thing.
Yeah, how do you do that then? Let's hear the trick.
Well, there's so many things. I mean, people always
Yeah.
ask us like, "Oh, give me a tip for brisket," and it's like it's not just a tip, it's the whole process for us.
Right.
It's selecting the right meat. We always use prime briskets. We like to use the certified Angus beef as
Mhm.
well, which I know has traditionally been a sponsor of the Carolina
Mhm.
BBQ Festival. Last year, we did our certified Angus beef pastrami prime, and that right there is a first step. And then how do you trim it? And then how do you season it? And how do you smoke it? I mean, we've always been big proponents of low and slow. We actually cook a little hotter now.
Mm.
We cook it like 275, which is still low, but some people would say it's still way too hot. But for us, getting that fat to render out of the prime briskets is key. And
Mhm.
then our rest period is a big thing too. Not only do you have to cook it properly the whole way through, we cook between 208 and 210,
Mhm.
but it's also by feel. So for us, whether it's pork butts or briskets, it's I tell new pitmasters that are learning or new cooks, it's not necessarily just the temperature. It's how does it feel, and if you're using a probe to go in and it's when you're a kid or you have kids, you tell them to wash their hair with soap till it's squeaky clean. Well, if you put a probe into a piece of meat and it's squeaky feeling, it's not done yet.
Mm.
And once it's loose and will go through like hot butter, a hot knife and butter, then you know that you're there. And I think that's the key thing. And then properly cooling it down before you go to hold it is a key step too. That especially home cooks, I would say, miss out on the most. You
Mhm.
know, you've spent all night smoking a brisket or a pork butt, and then you immediately throw it into cooler to keep it warm, and it hasn't cooled down where the outside is still cooking, and then it's still that heat is penetrating inwards, and now you're like, well, I hit this temperature, maybe that's not the right temperature, and it's you really need to cool it down to about 155 before you start holding.
A lot of great advice there for the brisket tips from Kim Hess at County Smoak. And Ken, let's talk about the County Smoak experience. If I come to Lynchburg and say I'm visiting my sister's alma mater at Randolph Macon, I come to Lynchburg, I want to come to County Smoak. What will I expect when I come to your little building and the picnic tables, and just kind of walk me through the experience?
Well, when you pull in off of Timberlake Road, you'll see a huge mural on the backside of our smokehouse. It's like an open lean-to kind of situation. We have one of the Virginia Tourism Love Grants that we have a wonderful local artist, Jennifer Gilly, who is also my tattoo artist, and she did this huge mural of a hot air balloon pig that says "Love" across it, with Lynchburg, Virginia, across the Blue Ridge Mountains, and that's what we're trying to give is everybody some love and show them what's up about barbecue. Our spice guy who's come down and helped a couple times at the festival, he always laughs that whenever he pulls in our parking lot to drop off our rubs or salt or pepper or whatever we're using, he laughs because we've got Mercedes and BMWs and Land Rovers and Teslas to the old beat up pickup truck with baling wire holding it together. And
Yeah.
that's always to me a sign of a great barbecue place is looking that they feed and welcome everybody, and
Hmm.
that's really who we are. Inside, we only have 10 seats. We're a very small situation where when we signed our lease February of 2020, uh, obviously everyone knows what happened in March of
Mm.
2020. We lost all our investors. We thought we would be able to tear the building down and redo it. And we had to open as a food truck, and having the outside seating was perfect for COVID. Um, People couldn't eat inside, they couldn't be near people, and nicely spaced out picnic tables and to go food worked out perfectly for us. So, um, we now own the 6 acres of land that we sit on in Timberlake. And once we pay off more of the land, we look forward to opening a bigger spot, and working towards that is a key. And so you'll walk up to the counter. We have a huge menu on the board, plus another printed menu where like all the plates and platters are on that
Hmm.
because we ran out of wall space. And you can order by the half pound, quarter pounds, pounds. You can order sandwiches. We do these stuffed baked potatoes that I worked at Big Bob Gibson's in Decatur, Alabama. That's where I was for about 7 years after the
Yeah.
Greenbrier Resort. And they do these huge baked potatoes. People love them. And we do the same thing here. We sell a lot of them each day. And we have barbecue salads, ribs, smoked turkey. And, so we really, and then we try to do specials. Like this week, we've been running a smoked chicken enchilada. We do a pulled pork tamales where we render out the tallow from our briskets and render that out in the smokers. And
Mm.
then we got Eugene, whose grandma taught him how to make tamales down in Mexico. And, it's really like the tamales. I always want tamales going to be nice and moist and fresh feeling and not dry
Yeah.
and crumbly. And man, we do it. We really do a great tamale where you're like, this is what all tamales should be like. And so we try to have fun with stuff. We're Jewish, so we do a smoked chicken and dumplings, but the dumplings are more like a matzo ball style
Mm.
dumpling. So that's always big in the wintertime. And then, just trying to do different specials and keep moving forward, but also being very consistent. We have an amazing mac and cheese, baked beans that we cook underneath our pork butts and briskets throughout the day with
Yeah.
lots of meat in them. So, you're going to get a great experience in terms of high quality barbecue that's technically done correctly and, executed hopefully properly every day. We miss the mark, but we also own our mistakes. We stand by our product. If somebody thinks something might be too salty, we had a case of that this weekend. We're training a new young man on the pits, and you start with chickens, and she said her chicken was salty, so we have to go and correct that. But our customers will tell us what's up, and we'll give them a refund and keep going from there.
Yes, great. Sounds like you've got a great routine and great practice there. I love the call out for Big Bob Gibson. They're celebrating 100 years this year. And I know if the 7 years there, you've got some time under your belt. So certainly you're part of that 100 years of tradition there at Big Bob Gibson. I want to ask you, you talked about the Alabama and you've got brisket and pastrami, a lot of Jewish flavor and some of that stuff. How does County Smoak and Virginia barbecue compare to what we kind of consider Carolina barbecue? And I know that's pretty much whole hog, but in Eastern low and slow smoke and vinegar. But how would you compare what you guys are doing to Carolina barbecue?
Well, let me jump off for 1 second. I forgot something, but let me show you one thing. I'll be right back. Hold on.
He's jumping off. We got visual aids coming at us here from the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. Ken Hess, our guest at County Smoak in Lynchburg, Virginia. And I just remind everybody that if you want to find out some of these specials that Ken's
All
talking
right.
about, go see County Smoak on Instagram. You can visit them at their website, countysmoak.com. And in case you don't know, they spell it Smoak, like oak, the wood. So County Smoak with oak, not smoke like smoke. So Ken, you've got a visual aid. Well, what are we talking about here? How is Virginia different from Carolina? And is it?
Well, I would say it is. Traditionally it was all pork. It was always cooked over hardwood coals, so there's a lot of similarities there. Actually, the spelling, thank you for bringing that up, of smoke, is from a woman who was writing back to her. Joseph Haynes wrote a book, uh, Virginia History of Barbecue,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a wonderful book that my wife Jessica gave me for the first Father's Day when we moved to Virginia from Decatur, Alabama, and loved it. Lots of historical references were pulled up and cited, and just a great read if you ever get a chance
Mm-hmm.
to, especially for people who like to have the debate of what state has the best barbecue, and Texas thinks it's them, and
Yeah.
and everyone's got a lot to offer, and Joseph Haynes will say that since we serve brisket, we're not a Virginia style barbecue place. But I do think that, with Virginia maybe not being credited as anymore and losing some of the barbecue history and traditions by older places shutting down because the families didn't keep them up,
Mm-hmm.
it's a key thing for us and for Jessica and I is that our barbecue and what we serve at the restaurant is what we've found through our trainings and our travels around the country and what we'd like to do. And so, Joseph Haynes, we have Virginia. We told him that the name County Smoak came from reading his book because they used to have this young woman wrote back to her brother in England about a barbecue in the county where they smoked using the old English spelling Smoak, which I guess right there you can kind of see it right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Or here's my one of our bottles too. But
The
so and
barbecue
this is
sauce.
what I
Yeah, good
wanted to
stuff.
get you as well because that's what we'll go back on that Virginia stuff. But she was writing back to her brother about how they smoked with the Smoak English spelling of back to her brother about they were smoking whole pigs and cows and sheep and goats, and there was 400 to 500 people out in the county, and you actually had an old piece of bread that you hollowed out, and that was your plate for your
Oh,
buffet, and then
yeah.
you ate your plate at the end instead of doing the dishes. So, and then they used to have the County Smoak House again, Smoak Smoak, and House more like the German Haus,
Mhm.
and that was where it was the smokehouse. You didn't have refrigeration in the 1700s. And, you know, if you killed a pig or two and you needed to get your meat smoked, you would take it to the county smokehouse and then you would come back and pick up your smoked meat. So Jessica combined both those stories and came up with County Smoak. And
Yeah.
we told Joseph Haynes about this, and he said, "Well, that's great, but you don't have any Virginia barbecue sauces, Ken and Jess. You know, we had our Don, which is right here, which
Yep.
this is a new thing from us since we've been. We've now
The
have
white
all
sauce?
6 of our sauces are
Yeah.
bottled now. We've always had the white
Okay.
sauce. It's named after Don McLemore, who is Big Bob's grandson, who was
Mhm.
my boss. We got to host Don and Carolyn. I think Don just turned 82. We got to host them about a year and a half ago now in September. They came down to see us with their daughters, and it was a wonderful time to get to see our old bosses again. But Joseph gave us a bunch of recipes with Virginia recipes of sauces, and we tested them. Jessica made all 24 of them. We narrowed it down to the top 5 we liked, and then our customers picked their favorite ones. And mahogany sauce is the one that we ended up bottling. There was another one that had peanut butter, which peanuts
Mm.
are a huge crop of Virginia back in the
Mhm.
day, and it was an amazing sauce too. But the peanut part terrified us as what if a
Mm.
young kid who can't read, who's
Yep.
allergic, gets a hold of it and and has anaphylactic
Allergies.
shock and
Yep.
allergies and passes away. So another one was made with apple butter, which just the cost prohibitive of that
Yeah.
was just really hard. And then this one, the mahogany sauce, which is a Central Virginia sauce, and we are in Central Virginia. I guess you can kind of see it there.
Mhm.
Um, it's a Worcestershire based sauce for us because they used to make it with mushroom ketchup, which is a condiment that doesn't actually exist anymore in modern times. And Worcestershire sauce is the closest replacement for it. So we've developed this sauce, which is almost, and again, I know that Carolina loves their vinegar sauces and all that, but this is kind of like an in between a thick red and a vinegar sauce. It's almost
Okay.
like consistency wise, as if they had a kid. The viscosity is in between both. It's not very watery. It's not very thick like a KC sauce or Texas style, but it's a great blend. Also, our boss sauce, which is our original red sauce that we came up with, which is my wife's recipe. She lived in Kansas City for 10 years, and
Mm.
that's why we call it the boss sauce. And then people want a spicy version, we got it called Angry Boss. Um, but we use bacon in that, and we use
Oh.
bacon in our mustard sauce as well, along with some molasses, like grandma's molasses and things like that. So um, here in our Central Virginia area, there's a tick bite called from the Lone Star tick. Gives a lot of people a meat allergy, which is called alpha gal, which
Hmm.
makes them allergic to pork, beef, goat, lamb, anything
Oh
with
my
a
gosh.
hoof.
That's
Yeah,
terrible.
if I get bit by this tick, I am dead.
It's
Like
over.
it's
Life is
yeah, it's
over.
over. My whole world is going to
I
collapse.
may not
But
come to Virginia, Ken, if you got that kind of thing going around.
yeah, and the Allegheny Mountains, it's where this tick is prevalent. They're finding cases now, Pennsylvania all the way through down by Georgia and stuff. They're with the deer population spreading, it's happening. But the mahogany sauce gave us a alpha gal safe red sauce,
Oh.
and so we ended up using it now to dip chicken. So we dip our chickens traditionally in the Alabama white sauce, the
Mhm.
Don, like I've did for 7 years in Alabama. It's my favorite way to have a smoked chicken. But then people either love the Alabama white sauce or they hate it. There's not much in between. There's there's not a fence rider there.
Right.
You're either on the left or you're on the right side of the fence. So this mahogany, we started glazing our sauces using the same techniques as the Don sauce, and it
Mm-hmm.
gives us a wonderful red uh, glazed chicken, smoked chicken that's awesome. And it gives people who don't like mayonnaise based sauces a great option for us as well. It's awesome. So, we're trying to develop our own recreating Virginia style. ZZQ up in Richmond does a very great Texas style barbecue. Really respect what Alex and Chris are doing up there. Barbecue Exchange in Gordonsville does a lot of unique things to them as well. And I think if you're looking at some of the better places in Virginia's barbecue now, there's Red Smoke out in Virginia Beach who's doing a
Mm.
great job. Um, we're starting to create our own legacies now for what is Virginia barbecue. We're redefining it with adding things too. I mean, we're in a day and age with Aaron Franklin's popularity of briskets, and even Daniel Vaughn came to
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte and all over North Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
and did a whole thing featuring John G and Sweet Lou's and
Mm-hmm.
everybody who was serving brisket. And I think it's America's cuisine is barbecue. It's ours,
Yep.
but to sit there and fight over who has the better region. But if you can take little parts of it from each region, like we traditionally shouldn't be serving brisket here, but we sell a lot of great brisket and people love it and people are fanatical about it. And, by the popularity of Aaron Franklin and Franklin's barbecue, you almost have to have brisket now. So, as much as I'd love to be a straight hard, I only do Virginia barbecue. There's too much other great barbecue out there
Mm.
that we've experienced and cooked and been a part of that I don't want other people to miss that. So,
Yeah, well, so you're keeping the Virginia tradition alive, and that's great. And while bringing out some flavors that other people are looking for, that's what it's all about: pleasing the audience, meeting your customers where they are, and providing them with what they want and what they need. And what they need is barbecue. And of course, I know that when you guys are at the Carolina BBQ Festival, I'm sure you'll bring those rubs and the sauces along with you, so you'll get a sample of all the Virginia barbecue as well as all the other kinds of barbecue that'll be at the Carolina BBQ Festival, April 4th and 5th at Victoria Yards in Charlotte. So, Ken, let's talk about a little bit about the festival. Our time's getting tight here, but I want to ask you, how did you get involved? I know you and Sweet Lou go back a little ways, but briefly, kind of tell us how you got involved with the Carolina Barbecue Festival.
well, I taught Lewis how to barbecue. He might not admit that to
Yeah,
anybody,
yeah.
but he got open before we did. But Lewis was an apprentice underneath me at the Greenbrier at the time. I was the catering and barbecue chef there, and he was my neighbor. And
Mm-hmm.
I had a catering business on the side at the time. It was called Haas's Barbecue and Catering. And Lewis would come help me on his days off with catering, and he would come down and go to barbecue contests with me. His boys, Lewis and Owen. I mean, Lewis was, I think, a month old when I first met him, and now they're running around helping at the festival.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they've been a part of my life for, gosh, I think since 2000 or 99, and it's just so when Lewis started doing the festival first year, he was like, "Hey, it's only going to be North Carolina and South Carolina." I said, "Well, that's a little shady, but okay."
Right.
And then the next year he opened it up to other states around the Carolinas,
Mm-hmm.
and we got invited as the Virginia representative, and we're proud of that. And we love, Charlotte. I've got, a fraternity brother down there from Oklahoma State, which is where I started eating great barbecue, was in
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma. And we're just glad to come down there and barbecue for a cause and have fun and show people some different things. The last 3 years we've done our prime pastrami and with a CAB and
Yeah.
served it on rye with our mustard sauce. And that's a sign, a shout out back to where I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I used to go to Katz's Deli with my wife, and
Yeah.
not my wife, my mom. And my wife, being Jewish, she grew up in Connecticut, loves pastrami as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Jessica and I do a great pastrami. So we
Definitely.
wanted to showcase something different. We knew John G would be doing brisket the first year we were there, and we knew everyone else was doing whole hogs and stuff like that. So why not do something different, which also showcases more of our culinary skills besides just barbecue, which is a great part of our skill set. But we also want to show people like what's up with some other traditions in the world.
Yeah. So you're bringing the brisket, the pastrami back for this year's event?
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't know that
good.
if I can get away with it
I'd
not
be very
doing it.
upset. Yeah, me
Um,
personally.
Yeah, I've got to talk to Lou. I'd love to do a pastrami beef rib. We've done it a few times. We actually did some testing for Snake River Farms back in
Hmm.
like 2015, 16, and Anella Kelso, who's one of the customer service people for Snake River, just messaged Jess and I the other night because they had lost the pastrami beef rib recipe that we had done using their Wagyu beef, and it's a
Oh
wonderful
no.
recipe, and it made Jess and I think like, man, it might be nice to do some of the CAB or Wagyu beef ribs for the festival and make them pastrami style. But I got to talk to Lewis about what everyone else is cooking up. I know that Elliot Moss will be doing pigs
Yeah.
and let's see John G did brisket, but then he did beef ribs last year,
Yep.
which were excellent as well. Um, oh, I'm drawing blanks on other
Well, you
people's names
expect
right now.
Michael Letchworth. He'll bring some
Yep,
whole hog.
he'll bring whole hog.
Jake Wood at Lawrence Barbecue. He's got to have the burrito tacos.
Yeah, that's for
Black
sure.
Powder and Keith Henning. That's kind of a wild card. So we'll be curious to see what he has to bring. But glad to hear that you guys are going to be back with my favorite pastrami and the fire and ice pickles and the mustard. Oh man, it's so good. I can't wait. So Ken, we're going to wrap it up here. But first, before we get out of here, let me just ask you. I know you and your wife have been all over the place. Y'all are classically trained chefs from the CIA. You've been doing this a long time just in the restaurant world, and you ventured out on your own. It's not an easy job. Why do you keep doing this? What do you enjoy about the barbecue life?
I mean, there's plenty of days we just want to just shut it all down. I mean, actually, I'm sitting in our second restaurant, County Sunrise, which we did close down just because
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't working. Eggs have gone up so high,
Yeah.
labor's up high. It costs a lot to do everything from scratch to do a great breakfast spot, and it just wasn't working. And we needed to adapt and overcome. And County Smoak is the same thing. We keep adapting and keep trying to do better and get more efficient and do it with less people. And the industry's changing, and we'd love to be, and we try to be, the forefront of change for our industry. It's tough in an area which maybe doesn't see a lot of the change. You all down in Charlotte get to see a lot more cutting edge stuff happen, not just with food, but also with how we're serving customers and how
Mm-hmm.
we're delivering stuff to them. But so we're just at a spot now where we still want to be the best. We just got ranked again best barbecue in Lynchburg, Virginia, under Lynchburg Living. Tomorrow night we have the best of dinner where we're going to serve our food. We're doing a uh, brisket bourguignon, so using our classical French with some smoked brisket, and then our pastry chef's doing some hand pies with a Jamaican hand pie. So we're just trying to showcase better food in Lynchburg, and to keep pushing that envelope forward, and to get a better culinary scene down here. And I wish that I was in a market like Charlotte or Richmond, or one of those places that had a better culinary scene around us. But to be pioneers is sometimes fun, but it's also challenging, and
Yeah.
it's a tough thing for Jess and I to manage it all, manage our families, and also worry about our employees and keep them all paid
Mm.
and encouraged to keep learning and working forward. So it's lots of challenges, and there are days you wake up and you're like, why are we doing this? That's for sure. Excuse me.
And
But
yet you keep doing it.
we keep doing it. It's also how we earn money for our families. And also, once you have 20 or 30 other people's families depending on your business, it makes you put your pants on a little faster in the morning, get your boots up, and then keep on rolling. And we have an amazing team. We've always had great people. And, some of them have been with us 3 or 4 years. Daniel, our pastry chef, I've known him since he was 14. I helped him get a scholarship to Johnson Wales down there in Charlotte, and
Hmm.
he's been with us a year now, and he's doing great things. His mom trained me at the Greenbrier, and so a lot of our staff really is family. They've become people that we depend on, that depend on us, and we worry about them, what's going on with their kids, what's going on with their boyfriends or girlfriends, or whatever is going on with their lives. And you know a lot of businesses say that, their employees are their family, but you spend more time with your employees than sometimes you do with your own family. I'm
Mm-hmm.
lucky that our family helps with her. I mean, Allie ran our front of the house. Her boyfriend Brandon was my pitmaster. They moved on to north of Charlottesville so she could do her teaching career. But they helped us open County Smoak and get it to where it is now. My two youngest kids, Maya and Obi, you'll see them helping at the registers or in the back or lighting smokers or Obi might be a little pyro like his father, but we're also giving our kids a great skill set of life skills. Our kids make money when they work for us. They make $12 an hour. They make minimum wage, and they get the
Mm.
choice of saving it or putting in their account or spending it. And we hope that in the end that I hope they don't do restaurants, but I hope that they learn a great work experience and work ethic, so that they know that everything takes effort, and you're not going to just become the next biggest. I mean, people think we're just some startup that just happened. I mean, I've been smoking meat since 2002, and with our culinary,
Mm-hmm.
I'm 49 in March. I started doing dishes at 15. Jess is the same way. She just had a birthday, just turned 45, and we've worked our butts off to get to here. And May is 5 years for County Smoak, which the worst 5 years for any culinary industry to ever experience, going through COVID.
Right.
So we'll keep pushing forward and you know keep on giving the great barbecue and great experiences to our customers. And as long as they keep loving it and we keep delivering, we'll keep the lights on as long as we can, but some stuff's got to start giving cost wise and things, I hope.
I understand. Yeah, it's a challenge for everybody. Well, everybody, that is the lowdown from Ken Hess. He's got a great family operation at County Smoak in Lynchburg, Virginia. Definitely come out and see him at the Carolina BBQ Festival, Victoria Yards in Charlotte, April 4th and 5th. You can get your tickets at carolinabbqfest.org or check us out at the website lowslowbbqshow.com for more details. Ken, thanks so much for joining the Low and Slow Barbecue Show.
Thank you for having us again. It's always a pleasure to do this interview first and then look forward. It gets me excited to be back down in Charlotte, down in the Virginia Yards doing this festival.
Yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you there. You've been listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. If you like what you hear, give us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast stream. Share our podcast with your friends. And of course, visit us at lowslowbbqshow.com. You can subscribe to the newsletter. And hey, don't forget, we've got a YouTube channel now. If you want to see Ken, you want to see all of his barbecue sauces he's shared with us and his scenes there, check us out on the YouTube channel. That's at the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. Thanks to our production team at the Mesh.tv network of podcast, especially Andrew Moose. He's the man behind the monitors. Thanks again to our guest today, Ken Hess with County Smoak in Lynchburg, Virginia. And most especially, thank you for listening. Remember, for the best barbecue and the best barbecue podcast, make it low and slow.